Okay, so the next example asks us to use power series to find the limit cosine x to the 5 minus 1 over x to the power of 10. Now, you may be tempted to use L'Hopital's rule, but you'll find that if you try to do this, you'll have to differentiate top and bottom 10 times, which would be very encumbersome. So let's try and use the tools we developed instead. Recall. So this is one of the things I asked you to prove. Cosine w is 1 minus w squared over 2 factorial plus w to the 4 over 4 factorial minus w to the 6 over 6 factorial, and it continues on in this pattern. Now, originally I had x instead of w, but again, it doesn't matter what I call the letter. So hence, cosine x to the 5, so if when it was w, I put a w everywhere, so when it's x to the 5, I just replace all the w's with x to the 5's. So 1 minus x to the 5 squared over 2 factorial plus x to the 5 to the 4 over 4 factorial minus x to the 5 to the 6 over 6 factorial plus dot dot dot. Again, I'm just replacing the w's with x's to the 5. So this tells me that if I take away the 1, I kill the first one, I'm just left with x to the 5 to the power of 2 is just x to the 10. So let's multiply out all the powers, and we're left with this, plus dot dot dot. Now, if I divide across by x to the power of 10, I can see that in the first term I'm just going to be left with minus 1 over 2 factorial plus x to the 10 over 4 factorial plus x to the 20 over 6 factorial. Plus dot dot dot, higher powers of x. So hence, the limit I was asked to find, x goes to 0, of cosine x to the 5 minus 1 over x to the 10. Now, the first term isn't going to care what happens to x because it's just minus 1 over 2 factorial. It doesn't change. But if I look at this term, this is going to go to 0 if x goes to 0. This term will also go to 0. All of the higher powers of x will all go to 0. And the only thing that survives is the minus 1 over 2 factorial, which is just minus 1/2. So again, we have used Taylor series and Taylor expansions to simplify greatly a certain computation. This limit using L'Hopital would have been very difficult, but with Taylor series, it proved to be quite simple.